In today's quick video, I want to talk you through my setup and my process for capturing sparkler exit photos at weddings. So let's start with, what is a sparkler exit? Now, a sparkler exit is where the wedding guests, typically drunk, have been given little sticks of fire that they wave towards the couple as they either kind of walk towards kind of the camera, or they kind of stay static and everybody waves them around them, sort of thing. I probably do 4 or 5 weddings a year where we have sparklers. Now it's called sparkler exit because I think typically couples do them at the end of the night as kind of an exit as they kind of leave the venue. That's not always the case. My last one that I did in December, we did just after the wedding breakfast, which would have been 5 o'clock, but it was in the middle of December when it's pitch black at 5 o'clock. So that kind of worked. But yeah, sparkler exit is little sticks of fire waved at the couple. So on a wedding day, you can split every part of the wedding down into repeatable actions from a technique and equipment point of view. So I typically know what camera and lens I'm going to be used as people walk down the aisle, what I want to be using during the wedding ceremony, what I want to be using during confetti or the dance floor or the first dance or the speeches. And so everything on a wedding day you can break down into repeatable actions, and that is no different with a sparkler exit. So the equipment needed to capture a sparkler exit or sparklers on a wedding day, obviously you're going to have a camera. I would always go wide in terms of the lens choice. So I would use the lens that I'm currently filming on, which is my 20mm lens. It's the 20mm for Sony, at least, on this little 1.8, it's just so sharp. And if you're having to use higher ISO, which we will go through when we look at the images on the computer, if you can get a sharper image, then you've got a little bit more flexibility when it comes to applying noise reduction. So this little 20 for me is absolutely fabulous. Now, I do not use flash for sparkler exits because I find it can make the images look a bit flat. It can overpower the kind of the colors and the ambience that the sparklers kind of give off. So what I use, and I've done this technique donkey's years, is using a little LED panel. Now this one here is a Godox one, and this one is a recent purchase. I do have a Lume Cube version 1 as well, and I have used that for a long time. So we'll get into the settings that we use on the camera when we start looking at the image on the computer. But in terms of this, I would be holding this up. I would hold it in my left hand. I can't do it at the minute because I've got the microphone there, but I would be holding this up. This is currently set to 30%. This would be fully whacked up, and I would be holding this towards the couple, and I would have my camera in my other hand, and I would be walking backwards with the couple, shining this light at them. In terms of power, full whack. In terms of color, I would try and keep it to a warmish color, so 4800, something like that, because you tend to find that sparklers are warm in color, so you don't want to have the couple lit with the little LED panel be quite cool and then everything else look quite warm. So LED panel pointed at the couple using a wide lens, and because you're using a wide lens and you're using an LED panel, you do have to get close, because these things, although they are powerful for the size that they are, you're not going to be able to stand 15 feet back and shoot on a 35 or a 50 whilst holding one of these up. So that is what I use, a little LED panel to light my couple when they're walking towards me.
Right, let's start with this first image, and this is of Kerry and Josh. This was taken on a Sony A9 Mark II with the 24mm GM. Settings wise, we're at shutter speed 250th of a second at f1.8 and an ISO of 8000. So let's quickly talk about those settings. When it's sparkler time, I'm always in like a hybrid manual mode. So I set the shutter speed that I want and the aperture, and then I let the camera balance the exposure by using auto ISO. Now I could have set the ISO if I wanted to, but with sparklers, you're having to deal with a few things. You've got the couple coming towards you, you've got people waving, the little fire on sticks. You've got to make sure that you're kind of keeping yourself steady as you're walking backwards. So auto ISO for the win in this situation, because it just helps you keep a consistent exposure. Now, before the couple are ready to walk through the little fire sticks, I always give them a little prep talk. I say to them that it's not a race to see who can get to the end as fast as possible. Take it slow, enjoy it, and make sure you smile. This little prep talk is vital. By telling them to take it slow, you're actually helping yourself. You're giving yourself a chance to not have to go to a higher shutter speed, because if they go quickly, you're going to need to raise that shutter speed to help with reducing the risk of camera shake as you're walking backwards. And a higher shutter speed will mean a higher ISO, because we don't really want to be adjusting the aperture, as we want to try and get both the couple in focus. And if we're shooting at 1.4 and they're not on the same plane of focus, we might miss it. Right, let's take a look at this one then. This one is a recent one from December 2023. For this one then, we're on the Sony A1, the 20mm G lens, and the settings wise, we're at 200th of a second, f2 and ISO 10,000 for this. The settings here are only slightly different to the previous image. A little slower on the shutter speed, a higher ISO, but at f2 rather than 1.8 as per the last image. It's all about balance. I felt 200th of a second was fast enough for me to walk backwards at the same time as they were walking towards me, f2 to help me get them both sharp enough if they're not on the same plane of focus, and ISO 10,000 is what the camera was setting to give me a balanced exposure. Now I was given free rein to pick the location for this shot, and in fairness there was only really one space that gave me enough room to have people at the sides and to give the couple enough space to walk through people and not get poked in the face with a fiery stick. The choice I did have to make was which way to shoot. Where I'm standing in this image, my back is towards a large hedge, and in the hedge is a little walk-through which leads to the car park. And most photographers who have shot this venue and done sparklers have the couple start at the hedge and then walk towards the venue. I saw it differently though. In the back of the shot you can see a light. This isn't mine, but it's a security light for the garden at the venue, and I knew that if I got it right, the light would be in the back of the shot, lighting the smoke from the sparklers, which would help to get us some depth. Again, with this shot, I gave them a little prep talk before the couple started to walk down, and with the camera in my right hand and my LED panel in my left hand, I gave the couple a shout and they slowly walked towards me. And a little bonus tip, tell the couple that when they're halfway down to stop and give each other a little kiss. Two reasons for this. One, it makes for a nice picture, and two, if you balls up the walking bit, you have a static shot of them with the sparklers around them.
So there you go. That is my technique for repeatable sparkler exit photos. It's a simple process. You know, you have some control in terms of what you're setting for your shutter speed and your aperture. Auto ISO, because you know the cameras are so good at being able to balance everything for you, but the key thing is making sure that your shutter speed is high enough to make sure that when you're walking backwards you are not shaking and all your photos are going to be blurred. A fairly cheap LED panel, they're about £100, I think. You can find cheaper ones. Just make sure that they are fairly powerful. I will put in the comments below what the power output are of the panels that I use. So the two that I've got, so I've got a Lume Cube one. This does have a little diffuser on. Obviously I would take that off for a wedding, and then we have the Godox one like that. So yeah, so that's it. Any queries, questions, let me know. I do have a blog post on my website with a few more kind of informational details about this process, so I'll link that below. But yeah, queries, questions, let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.